Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we are on chapter 7 of this book, Perfection of Yoga. And this chapter is entitled Yoga as Re-establishing Relations with Krishna. So as we have seen, the meaning of yoga is to connect. So here Prabhupada is saying that actual yoga is to connect with the Supreme Lord, who is Krishna. So let's begin. We have heard many times of the yoga system. The yoga system is approved by Bhagavad Gita, but the yoga system in Bhagavad Gita is especially meant for purification. So the yoga system mentioned in the 6th chapter, yoga here in general means the dhyana yoga, ashtanga yoga. In the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita is meant to purify one's existence. The aim is threefold, three purposes to yoga: to control the senses, to purify the activities so that we do good things, and to link oneself to Krishna in reciprocal relationship. That means we do something to approach God, to please God, and we get reciprocation from the Lord. It's a two-way process. That's yoga, not a one-way process. Not that only you get from God, or not that you only give God, but it's a two-way process. So these are the three purposes of yoga: controlling senses, purifying one's activities, and connecting with God. The absolute truth is realized in three stages. So the Supreme Lord, the Supreme Absolute Truth, God, the Param Tattva, which is absolute truth. The Parama Tattva is realized in three stages. He is also realized as the impersonal Brahman, as the localized Paramatma, Supersoul, and ultimately Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of God. So this comes in a verse from Srimad Bhagavatam, 1st canto, 2nd chapter, 11th verse, where it's mentioned that God can be understood in three facets. The Param Tattva, the Supreme Absolute Truth, can be understood in three facets. Like me, if we see it ourselves, we can only be understood in one facet. We are the person. If I'm here, I'm not there. If I'm there, I'm not here. But God can be understood in three facets. What are the three facets? Vadanti tat tattvavidas tattvam yajnanam advayam. So the great tattvavida, the great scholars, they define God as three: Brahmeti, Paramatmeti, Bhagavan iti shabdyate. He is known as Brahman, the impersonal white light. He is known as Paramatma, the Lord within the heart. But at the same time, he is also Bhagavan. He has his own personal existence. So this is what Prabhupada is saying here. In the final analysis, the Supreme Absolute Truth is a person. But ultimately, of these three, an impersonal, a localized aspect, ultimately he is a person. Simultaneously, he is all-pervading supersoul within the hearts of all living entities and within the core of all atoms. Right? In every atom, the Lord exists in his nature. And he is the Brahma Jyoti, or the effulgence of spiritual light as well. Bhagavan Sri Krishna is full of opulence as the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but at the same time, he is full of renunciation. So how to understand these three facets? Generally, we see at most, we can have a personal facet, Bhagavan, or we can have an impersonal facet. For example, in school, if you take an example of the school, sometimes the children tell, hey, don't make noise. The teacher told not to make noise. So teacher is not in the classroom, but just the word teacher, one immediately becomes panic. Like it's invoking the presence of the teacher. So this is like an impersonal representation. The word teacher, the person is not there. But just by saying teacher, the word, you invoke the presence and everyone's afraid. So that's an impersonal representation. Like in family, they say, don't do this, father will get angry. The father is not there to get angry right now, but just hearing that, just hearing the name. So that's an impersonal representation. So personal and impersonal we have, but localized we don't have. We are not everywhere. But God has three facets. He is localized, he is everywhere also, in the hearts of all living beings. He's at the same time impersonal also. That means he's in everything, but we cannot see. At the same time, he has his own personal feature. Just like a light and a light bulb. Light comes out everywhere. Light can go 5 meters, 10 meters away. The light can shine. But ultimately, it has a source, right? It has a point. It's a personal form, a bulb, which is giving out the light. So similarly, many people like to worship the Brahma Jyoti. They say, wow, the Lord's effulgence. But what is behind that light? What is the source of that light? So Brahma Samhita explains that it is the bodily effulgence of God. That is the Brahma Jyoti. And similarly, the Lord is expanding and appearing in everyone's heart. But it's just like a sun being reflected in different pots of water. Ultimately, the sun is there, the original is there. So between Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, Bhagavan is the original feature. In our previous reading books, we have seen Prabhupada gives this example. When you approach a mountain from far, you look at it as a green mountain. That's it, a green hill. That is like Brahman realization. And when you go closer, then you realize that, oh, no. There are some trees, right? There are some shrubs. So, there's something. That is like Paramatma. A little more details come. But when you actually climb on the mountain, you realize there's so many life forms also in the mountain, living on the trees. Then that is like Bhagavan realization. Or Prabhupada gives the example of a sun. From far, you see it's just a ball, round ball, yellow, orange ball, right? A light only. Then you realize, oh, there's a circle. There's actually a glowing circle. Then you go in, there's actually the personality, Surya Dev. So like that, of Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, the ultimate end analysis, like Prabhupada says, in the final analysis, that is Bhagavan. So 3 features of God. But at the same time, Lord has done all this, but he is full of renunciation. So we see, here Prabhupada continues to say, in the material world, we find that one who has much opulence is not very much inclined to give it up. In this world, the more you have, the more difficult it is to give up. But Kṛṣṇa is not like this. He can renounce everything and remain complete in himself. So Kṛṣṇa is the creator of this entire world, but he is not at all attached to this world. We see a few examples when Kṛṣṇa is a small baby in Vrindavan, he would carry his father's slipper on his head, Nanda Maharaj. Now, Nanda Maharaj ultimately is his own devotee, but Kṛṣṇa would carry, God have to carry his devotee's slippers on his head, right? And he loved it. Right? We see Kṛṣṇa washing the feet of Sudama, so renounced. He was a king, but he was washing the feet of his devotee, so renounced. Right? We see Kṛṣṇa disappearing in the rasa dance when he's dancing with all the gopis, and suddenly the gopis become a little proud. That just see, I'm dancing with Kṛṣṇa. Kṛṣṇa says, oh, I don't like pride. Kṛṣṇa disappears. Right? This is the ultimate renunciation. In the war with Jarasan, when Jarasan was attacking Mathura, Kṛṣṇa thought, I'm tired of fighting. I don't want, not interested. Kṛṣṇa just left. He didn't care. Right? Renounced. Or in the fight in Mahabharata, in Battle of Kurukshetra, Kṛṣṇa was the most powerful person. He was the actually pivot in the whole battle. He orchestrated everything, but he was not interested in name and fame. Who became the hero of Mahabharata? Who became the hero of Bhagavad Gita? Arjun, Pandavas. Kṛṣṇa did not bother to put his name. He was renounced. So in this way, we can see how Kṛṣṇa, Supreme Personality, we saw 6 qualities before. He is totally renounced. He has done everything, but he's not bothered about anything. When we read or study Bhagavad Gita under a bona fide spiritual master, we should not think that the spiritual master is presenting his own opinions. It is not he who is speaking, right? He is just an instrument. So now ISKCON temples, when the speaker sits and speak, we call that place as a Vyasasana. Vyasa Asana, the place where Vāsudeva sits. And the speaker speaking Bhagavatam at that point of time is understood to be the representative of Vāsudeva. So therefore, because we understand that the knowledge that one is speaking is the conclusions of all the Shastras, so he is a representation of that Guru. The real speaker is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is both within and without. At the beginning of his discourse on yoga system in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Kṛṣṇa says, this is the first verse of the 6th chapter. Funny how this book is talking about the 6th chapter, but Prabhupada starts from all other verses, and towards the end he's talking the first verse. So Kṛṣṇa says, Anashrita karma phalam karyam karma karoti ya sa sannyasi sa cha yogi cha na niragnir na cha kriyaha. One who is unattached to the fruits of his work and who works as he is obligated, obliged, is the renounced order of life. So what is the sannyasi definition here? One who is not attached, but just works out of duty, out of merit. And he is the true mystic, not he who lights no fire and performs no work. So here, Kṛṣṇa is saying that a sannyasi is not one who just doesn't do anything. Right? A real devotee is one who acts, who functions, who does work, who wants to serve, but is not attached to the results. Not someone who just runs away from everything. Everyone is working and expecting some result. One may ask, what is the purpose of working if there's no result expected? A remuneration or salary is always demanded by the worker. Isn't it? Everyone is selfish. Everyone, when they do something, they expect something. That's natural in one sense. But here, Krishna indicates that one can work out of the sense of duty alone. One can be dutiful, not expecting the results of his activities. If one works in this way, then actually he is a sannyasi, the renounced order of life. So therefore, all devotees are serving Krishna, doing all these activities, but they're not expecting something. Right? They're doing it just to please Krishna. It's a matter of duty. So then Prabhupada explains what is sannyasi. He goes on to say, according to Vedic culture, there are 4 stages of life: brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyasa. Brahmachari is a student life devoted to training in spiritual understanding. Grihastha life is a married householder life where God is in between. Not just getting married makes you a grihastha. Right? One who is trained brahmachari and gets married and lives a life with God in the center of their daily activities, that is the grihastha. Then upon reaching the approximate age of 50, one may take vanaprastha order. That is, he leaves his home and children and travels with his wife as an assistant to holy places of pilgrimage. Enough of all the homely activities and all. Let us focus. Right? So he and his good wife, they both travel and start focusing on bhakti. Finally, he gives up both wife and children and remains alone to cultivate Krishna consciousness. That is a stage called sannyasa, or renounced order of life, where one gives up all attachments, all connections, everything, all dependency even. Right? Yet Krishna indicates that for a sannyasi, renunciation is not all. In addition, there must be some duty. Right? There's no, see, again, like we discussed before, Prabhupada mentioned in an earlier book that if we think that I can just give up everything, there's nothing for us to give up in this world. We came in this world with nothing. The only thing we have to give up is our attachment to this world. What then is the duty of a sannyasi? For one who has renounced family life and no longer has material obligations, his duty is a most responsible one. It is to work for Krishna. Right? That is a duty. It is to work for Krishna. Moreover, this is the real duty for everyone in all stages of life. Prabhupada says actually all ashrams, brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, sannyasi, everyone has to work for Krishna. Therefore, in our ISKCON society, we are not so focused. Who is what ashram? Who is a brahmachari? Who is a grihastha? Who is a vanaprastha? We're not so much focused. We have these ashrams for our own social, psychophysical condition so that we can comfortably practice. But it does not mean that you have to be a sannyasi to get Krishna prema. A brahmachari can get Krishna prema, a grihastha can get Krishna prema, a vanaprastha can get Krishna prema, a sannyasi can get Krishna prema. Ashrama is just somewhere we can comfortably be situated to execute our bhakti. Okay? In everyone's life, there are 2 duties. So Prabhupada here mentioned, there are 2 kinds of duties or 2 kinds of dharma. If you remember from our earlier reading, dharma means duty. In everyone's life, there are 2 kinds of duty. One is to serve illusion, what is called as naimitika dharma, temporary service. And the other is to serve the reality, nitya dharma, eternal duty. When one serves the reality, he is a sannyasi. So nitya dharma is serving Krishna because we are souls. That is our eternal duty. Whatever body you get, whatever life you get, wherever you get, this duty is always fixed because we are the soul. And when one serves illusion, this is naimitika dharma. If I'm a male, I have a purusha dharma. But if next life I'm born as a female, I'll have stri dharma. So my duty changes. Right? If I'm a father, I have pati dharma. If I'm a mother, I have patni dharma. But if I'm not, I don't have that dharma. If I'm a student, I have vidyarthi dharma. I have a student life dharma. But if I'm not a student, I don't have that dharma. So illusion here means sometimes there, sometimes not there. Right? If one serves illusion, he is deluded by Maya. So if one focuses on all the other kinds of dharma, naimitika dharma, temporary dharma, too much, then one is serving illusion. One has to understand, however, that he is in all circumstances forced to serve. So we have to serve, this is our nature. By constitution, we are meant to serve. And actually, by doing what we are meant to do, we get happiness. Therefore, everyone likes to do some seva. Either he serves the illusion or serves the reality. Brilliant. The constitution position of the living entity is to be servant, not a master. One may think that he's a master. Everyone in this world likes to think that I'm the master, I'm in control. But he is actually a servant. When one has a family, he may think that he is the master of his wife, of his children, of his home, business, and so on. But it's all false. Sometimes the man of the house thinks, if I tell my wife, she should do exactly what I tell them. If I tell my children, they should do exactly. But after when they grow up, one realizes that they're not going to follow. Right? You can't think that you control people. It doesn't happen like that. So illusion is to think that I'm the master of something. I'm the master of the business. I'm the master of this and that. But nothing like that. Actually, Prabhupada writes, one is actually the servant of his wife. Why? Whole life one goes trying to please the wife. Trying to give this, give that, so she'll be happy. He's the servant of his children. Whole life goes just to please them. That they may not call me a useless father or bad father. Let me go and please them, serve them. And whole life goes in trying to serve his business. Right? Make my business better, greater, famous. So much energy of doing in serving these things. The president may be considered the master of the country. He's the head. But actually, he's the servant of the country. Why? His whole thought every day as president is how I can make the citizens happy. How I can make this better. How I can improve the country. He's thinking how to serve, how to improve, what is needed. The whole day, the thought is there. Our position is always as servant, either as servant of illusion or servant of God. If, however, we remain the servant of illusion, then our life is wasted. Of course, everyone is thinking that he is not a servant, that he is working only for himself. Although the fruits of his labor are transient and illusionary, they force him to become servant of illusion or a servant of his own senses. So unfortunately, although we are all servant, we are always thinking ourselves to be master. Okay, and therefore all our activities, the fruit is just causing us to become a servant of our own senses. Person works so hard for his business, and when he gets money, he's like, wow, starts enjoying, right? And to maintain this enjoyment, he has to work even harder. So it's a vicious cycle. But when one awakens to transcendental senses and actually becomes situated in knowledge, he then becomes the servant of reality. So now, when we become devotees, we are not eager to make $1 million, $1 billion. If it comes, it's Krishna's grace. I will utilize it. I will utilize $1 or $1,000, both with the same enthusiasm. If I have $1, I'll use that $1 in Krishna service with the same enthusiasm as much as I have $1,000. No problem. Because money is immaterial. Right? So when one comes to this knowledge, he becomes a servant of reality. When one comes to the platform of knowledge, he understands that in all circumstances, he is just a servant. Since it is not possible for him to be a master, he is much better situated serving the reality than serving illusion. So a devotee, if he gets married, he realizes that ultimately, I am been given the chance to serve the family. If a devotee couple, husband and wife, gets children, they realize that they're just servants of this soul. Who this child has come, what soul has been put into this body, I do not know. But I am just a servant of these children. My duty is to make them into God-conscious children. Husband thinks, a devotee husband thinks that my duty as a servant is to serve and ensure that my wife is Krishna conscious, my children are Krishna conscious. A wife, a devotee wife, she is thinking that my duty is to serve my husband, to help him in his Krishna consciousness, in that way develop my own Krishna consciousness, is to develop my children in their Krishna consciousness. So everyone is thinking in that mode of a servant. When one becomes aware of this, he attains the platform of real knowledge. By sannyasa, the renounced order of life, we refer to one has come to this platform. Sannyasa is a question of realization, not social status. Right? So Prabhupada, one time he told, no, that my brahmachari, my grahastha, my vanaprastha, and my sannyasi disciples, they're all the same. They're all actually like sannyasis. Because everyone is serving God. Even a grahastha is going out and preaching and doing programs. They're connecting people. They're, studying Shastra. So in that sense, if they have that realization, then yes, they're as good as a sannyasi because they're detached. And therefore, we have no issue in our society for a grihastha to become a guru and a sannyasi to become a guru. It's not only a sannyasi can become a guru. Good standing grihastha who has this realization, right? They can also become guru. Nothing wrong. It is a duty of everyone to become Krishna conscious and to serve the cause of Kṛṣṇa. When one actually realizes this, he becomes a Mahatma or a great soul. In Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says that after many births, when one comes to the platform of knowledge, he surrenders onto me. Why this? Vāsudeva sarvam iti. That wise man realizes that Vāsudeva or Krishna is everything. So this is a shloka from the 7th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, 19th verse. Bahunam janmanam ante, after thousands and thousands of lives, jnanavan mam prapadyate, one who has some knowledge finally surrenders unto God. Why? What do they realize? Vāsudeva sarvam iti, that everything ultimately is resting on God. Sa Mahatma sudurlabha, such a great soul. Mahatma is very rare. It's not easy that you find such people who has realized. However, Krishna says that such a great soul is rarely found. Sa Mahatma sudurlabha. Why is this? If an intelligent person comes to understand that the ultimate goal of life is to surrender onto Krishna, why should he hesitate? The Prabhupada comes to this point. Why Krishna is saying that bhakti is very rare, or this realization that Krishna is everything is very rare? Because everyone, if they know that today or tomorrow, ultimately I have to come to take shelter of Krishna, that is the perfection of my life, then why are people hesitating? Why are people delaying? Why not surrender immediately? What is the point in waiting for so many births? When one comes to the point of surrender, he becomes a real sannyasi. Krishna never forces anyone to surrender onto him. Krishna never forces. Surrender is a result of love, transcendental love. Where there is force, there is no freedom. There can be no love. This is a very important line. So therefore, you see, in our Sanatan Dharma, many things are mentioned that you should do this, you should do that, but it's never forced. Like some other religion is very strictly forced. But ultimately, God understands there's no point in forcing people. Because if you want someone to love you, they have to do it naturally. So even God doesn't force the Jivatmas to love him. Where there is force, there is no freedom. When that, there can be not love. So these things of love and freedom, they have to come together. Prabhupada gives an example. The highest example you can have in the material world. When a mother loves a child, she is not forced to do so. Nor does she do it out of expectation of some salary or remuneration. Mother is taking care of the child thinking that, this child, when the child goes big, will become a doctor. And this child can give me 1 million every month. Oh, this child, when becomes big, can become a lawyer. They will give me 1 million every month. Okay, so let me take care of them for 20 years. And after 20 years, I'll get back my profit. The mother doesn't think like that. Whether the child is educated, not educated, whatever, mother always loves the child. So similarly, God always loves us. Right? He gives us freedom. Similarly, we can love the Supreme Lord in so many ways. We can love him as a master, as a friend, as a child, or as a husband. There are 5 basic rasas or relationships in which we are eternally related to God. When we are actually in the liberated stage of knowledge, we can understand that our relationship with the Lord is in a particular rasa. So now we may not understand, but ultimately when we chant Hare Krishna and become purified, we can understand what our actual relationship is with the Lord. So 5 kinds of rasas are there: Shanta ras, Dasya ras, Sakya ras, Vatsalya ras, and Madhurya ras. These are 5 different ways that we can actually, reciprocate with the Lord. Shanta ras means neutrality. So we are not much interested in this. Dasya ras is servitude, and Sakya ras is friendship. Vatsalya ras is actually parenthood, and Madhurya ras is conjugal, right? Affection for Krishna. So the platform in which we become purified and actually can understand what our relationship is, that platform is called svarupa siddhi, where one realizes one's swarupam, or self-realization. Everyone has an internal relationship with the Lord, either as a master and servant, friend, parent and child, husband and wife, or lover and beloved. These are the 5 rasas, or 4 actually mentioned here. These relationships are eternally present. The whole process of spiritual realization and the actual perfection of yoga is to revive our consciousness of this relationship. So sometimes people tell, in this world, Prabhu, we must build our career, we must create our portfolios, we must have our LinkedIn profiles, right? We must work towards building ourselves. But factually, the only thing we need to work on building is our relationship with God. The only thing we need to work on investing is our love for God. The only thing we need to work on developing is actually our surrender to God. Everything else does not matter. Whether you get a career, you don't have a career, does not matter. At present, our relationship with the Supreme Lord is pervertly reflected in this material world. So those relationships which we saw that actually we are supposed to have with God is being pervertedly, wrongly reflected in this material world. In the material world, the relationship between master and servant is based on money or force or exploitation. Isn't it? The dasya ras in this world you see is usually the master is throwing money and that's why the servant is serving. Like recently someone sent me a video of one maid, right? One maid in one house. I think she just got scolding or beating or something. And the master was sitting on the chair, relaxing like this, somewhere in China or Philippines, or I don't know. So the maid was at the side, making tea, and she was just looking at the master, and he was just relaxed like that. Apparently, he had beaten her or something, and she got so angry, she boiled hot water and she poured on the hot water on the man, right? So, because master-servant relationship in this world is based on money, force, or exploitation, like slavery. It's by force. There is no question of service out of love. The relationship between master and servant, pervertedly reflected, continues only for as long as the master can pay the servant. As soon as the payment stops, the relationship stops. Similarly, in this material world, there may be many relationships between friends. But as soon as there is a slight disagreement, the friendship breaks and the friend becomes an enemy. We all have experience of this in schools, in colleges, in working places. We form cliques, right? We form groups. And sometimes after some time, because of some disagreement or some misunderstanding, the groups break up, they merge into different groups. So friendship also changes because it's all based on selfishness. When there is a difference of opinion between son and parents, the son leaves home and the relationship is severed, right? The same with husband and wife, a slight difference of opinion, there is divorce. So these are the perversions that we find in this world. Ultimately, the Jivatma, the living being, has an eternal relationship in these four rasas with the Supreme Lord. No relationship in this material world is actual or eternal. We must always remember that these ephemeral relationships, they don't last, are simply perverted reflections of that eternal relationship we have with the Supreme Personal of God. So if we understand this line, this sentence that we just read, when we as a devotee have a relationship with another devotee, as a friend, we understand that together, both of us actually cannot gel. But if we both of us put Kṛṣṇa in between, then we can gel. Similarly, husband and wife, a devotee husband and wife, they know they got married, but just because they got married doesn't mean that they're going to be happy forever. If they do not strive to put Kṛṣṇa, put the divine couple in between the couple, then they can actually retain their relationship. Else, two Jivatmas cannot satisfy each other. In whatever body, male, 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 female, female, male, whatever, two Jivatmas cannot satisfy each other until and unless they have Kṛṣṇa in between. So we have experienced that the reflection of an object in a glass is not real. It may appear real, but when we go and touch it, we find that there is only glass reflection. We must come to understand that these relationships as friend in the material world, parent in the material world, child in the material world, master in the material world, servant in the material world, husband in the material world, wife in the material world, lover in the material world, are simply reflections of that relationship that we have with God. So those who are looking for satisfaction in friendship, material friendship, those who are looking for satisfaction in their material marriage, or those who are looking for satisfaction in their material job, master, servant, we cannot find it because it is ephemeral. It is not real actually. Until and unless between two Jivatmas you have Kṛṣṇa, then they become best friends because Kṛṣṇa is in the middle. The moment you remove Kṛṣṇa, after a while they'll start fighting. When we come to this platform of understanding, then we are perfect in knowledge. When the knowledge comes, we begin to understand that we are servants of Krishna and we have an eternal love relationship with him. In this love relationship, there are no questions of remuneration, but of course, remuneration is there. So don't think that we are doing seva, you won't get anything out of it. You will get. It is much more greater than whatever we can earn here through the rendering of service. It is much more than your job can offer you. There is no limit to Krishna's remuneration. In this connection, there's a story of Bali Maharaj, a very powerful king who conquered a number of planets. The denizens of heavenly planets appealed to the Supreme Lord to save them, because Bali Maharaj was from the demon family, Asura. For they had been conquered by the demoniac king Bali Maharaj. So although he's demon, but he's actually a devotee of the Lord. He just had to do his duty. Just like someone is a policeman, they have to do their duty. Someone is a fireman, they're doing their duty. So similarly, Bali Maharaj was an Asura. He was doing his duty to fight against the demigods. But he was actually a devotee of the Lord. Upon hearing their pleas, Sri Krishna took the shape of a dwarf Brahmana boy and approached Bali Maharaj saying, "My dear king, I would like something from you. You are such a great monarch and a renowned for giving charity to the Brahmanas. So would you give me something?" So this is the beautiful story of this Vamana, right? Vaman Dev, Lord Krishna coming in the form of a dwarf Brahmana. And at the same time, here is Bali Maharaj. And Bali Maharaj has his guru, Shukracharya. Shukracharya is the guru of the demons. Shukracharya is advising Bali, don't promise anything to this Brahmana. He's not Brahmana, he's Vishnu himself. Be careful. But Bali Maharaj was so absorbed in his devotion. He was thinking that the goal of life is to serve Vishnu. And now Vishnu has come to me. Why should I not give? So the conversation proper writes in. Bali Maharaj says, I will give you what you want. I simply want whatever land I can occupy in my 3 steps, the boy said. Vamana says, "Oh, that is all," the king replied. "And what will you do with such a small piece of land? Small boy, how big is his foot? 3 foot you put, that's it. That much space only you want." So Bali Maharaj was thinking, what is this? So actually, if you read Bhagavatam, very beautiful section comes. The Vamana will say that what is the use of so much land? If a person has uncontrolled senses, there is no point in having even thousands of land. If you're not satisfied even with 3 paces of land, if your senses are uncontrolled, you will never be satisfied even with 3,000 paces of land. So Vaman Dev says, though it may be small, it will suffice me, the boy smiled. Bali Maharaj agreed and the boy dwarf took 2 steps that covered the entire universe. Then he asked Bali Maharaj where he was going to take his 3rd step. Bali Maharaj said, understanding that the Supreme Lord was showing him his favor, replied, "My dear Lord, I have now lost everything. You have occupied everything. I have no property left, but I have my head. I am my own property. Would you so kindly step there? You take this body. I've given you all my property. Now I have one thing left, which is me. You take that also." Lord Sri Krishna was then very much pleased with Bali Maharaj and he asked, "What would you like from me?" Bali Maharaj says, "I never expected anything from you, my Lord." Bali Maharaj said, "But I understood that you wanted something from me, and now I have offered everything unto you." So Bali Maharaj is an example of Atma Samarpan, one who is able to give everything to the Supreme Lord. "Yes," the Lord said, "but from my side, I have something for you." "Oh, you don't want anything from me," but Krishna says, "I want to give you something." So this is what Prabhupada says, the supreme nature of the Lord, the ultimate reciprocator. He is willing to remunerate someone, even if someone doesn't want. Imagine if you have someone working for you who says, "I don't want salary, I don't want anything." Boss thinks, "Wow, very good. I get to save my money." Krishna is not like that. He says, even if you don't want, I want to give you something from myself. So what does Vamanadev say? "I shall remain always as an order carrier servant in your court. Wherever you are king, I will become a servant in that place." In this way, the Lord became Bali Maharaj's doorman, Dwarpal. And that was his return. That is what he gave. If we offer something to the Lord, it is returned millions of times. But we should not expect this. One should not think, let me chant 6 rounds and I'll get 60 million. Not like that. The Lord is always eager to return the service of his servant. Whoever thinks that the service of the Lord is actually his duty, it's my duty to serve the Lord, is perfect in knowledge and has attained the perfection of yoga. And it's actually our duty. God has given us sun, God has given us sunlight, water, oxygen to breathe, so many things he has given us. The very reason we are alive is because Lord allows it. So similarly, a person who is dutiful will feel that I am indebted. It's my gratitude for a person who has given me everything. It's my duty to serve such a person. So if we always remember our duty, then we'll always chant Hare Krishna, worship the Lord every day, at least on a duty platform, and understand that God has given me so much, it is my duty to serve Him. So like that, we end the 7th chapter, and next we will see the last chapter of this book, the 8th chapter. So we'll stop here. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.